So, Phil, welcome.
Thank you.
It's happy to have you here on Atmosphere Conference. The first question I want to ask you is about your talk. You were talking about scalability issues at Facebook, where you work. So, can you tell those of us who haven't seen it a bit about it?
So I think if I had to condense my entire talk down, I was trying to get across the idea of optimizing for scalability of people as opposed to purely just the number of machines that are going to connect to your Chef server, your Puppet server, your whatever it is. And while we have a lot of stuff in that talk about making a Chef server scale and sort of the technical merits of number of machines that connect, the more important thing there was picking a tool that allowed your people to scale as far as being able to hold the configurations in their head. And so we designed a system that allows us to specify sort of the base configuration of what a Facebook server should be, and then allow everyone else to just specify the delta, how they differ from that norm, which means we express a lot less things total, which means that there's less things you have to hold in your head. And so as people we scale better, and as teams we scale better, and everyone can focus on the thing that they're best at as opposed to trying to manage a bunch of stuff that they don't necessarily care about. And in that way the Chef team delegates small bits of things out to all the people who care about them, and we deal with just the concept of, in general, how do you manage a system.
So it's deeply into the DevOps thing we all do now. And my next question is somehow connected to what I'm particularly interested in. So do you feel that Facebook is a joyful place to work?
Yeah, I love my job. They treat us really well. We often refer to the campus as a playground. We have an arcade and we have free food and all of this stuff, which are really nice fringe benefits. But I think the best part of working there is that we have really small teams who are empowered to do almost anything. Within a few weeks of working there, I noticed that the LDAP environment they used for logging into dev servers was using an old version of LDAP, and the synchronization wasn't in sync half the time, and it was horrible. And I spent about a week just rebuilding it from scratch, and I didn't have to ask permission. I did it, and people were like, "Hey, man, that's great, thanks." Right? And then I started looking into replacing CF Engine 2 as a configuration management system, probably about 8 or 10 months later. And I did it on my own in evenings and once I had a sort of a proof of concept with a couple different systems, Puppet and Chef and Spine, I kind of went and showed my boss and got some people to help, and the project kind of grew on its own. And my team the team that I ended up building was about 4 people for most of the time, now 5 people. So there's just lots and lots of small teams, and there's nobody to say no. If there's something you want to go and do, you're just sort of empowered to do it. And the more people it affects, the more people you should probably talk to. But there's no, you have to go talk to X, Y, and Z. As an intelligent engineer, you should make sure that you're talking to people you're going to affect. But other than that, there's really no restrictions, and that, to me, is what's fun about working at Facebook.
That's amazing. And my next question is about your T-shirt. Metallica Polska. So either you bought it on the airport or there's some story behind it.
I'd be super impressed if they were selling Metallica t-shirts at the airport. So I spend my non-Facebook time following Metallica around, seeing 96-ish shows in 11 countries. So I saw Metallica in Warsaw. It's gonna be 4 years ago now on the Big 4 tour, and bought this at that show. So I've seen just an incredible amount of shows. I probably have about 200 t-shirts. And so, yeah, I thought it would be appropriate to wear my Polish Metallic shirt to the Polish conference.
That's nice. And have you, do you see any changes between those 4 years? Because we Poles tend to think that it's all changing so rapidly.
Well, in fairness, on this trip, I went from the airport to the hotel and the hotel to here. So I haven't seen much of Warsaw since I got here this time. Last time I had 3 days to sightsee, so I saw the castle and that sort of stuff, and food, whatever. I imagine that if you ask me that question in 2 days, I'll have a better answer. But I love Poland. I'd really love to see more than Warsaw. I always end up being in Warsaw. It'd be nice to go and see like Krakow and some of the other cities. And everyone I know who's Polish says I need to go and see the rest of the country. So maybe one day I'll get to do that.
Yeah, Warsaw is somehow special, and and the rest of the country is also amazingly nice, I think. I really like it. And my last question is about how would you recommend then our next iteration of this conference next year to people who would be visiting, would think about visiting?
What would I recommend to future attendees, you mean?
Well,
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I mean, I'm really enjoying the conference so far. I think it's a good, interesting mix of topics and people. I've had some really, really good, interesting conversations with many, many people, and it's my first year here, and it's the first day and the first morning. So I'm not sure I have necessarily a ton of feedback, but it's one of those conferences that, especially as an American, is not as well known over there. And I've been pleasantly surprised by what a well put together conference it is. So far I'm having a lot of fun.
Thank you. So enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank
I
you.
hope to see you at the party tonight.
Absolutely.
And to show you some Polish customs that you may not be aware of.
Absolutely.
So enjoy and thank you.
Cool. Thanks, man.